There are a couple of potential obstacles that I'd like you to be aware of in order to make the most of IFS. The first one is forgetting about IFS, forgetting about your parts, and so you end up not having those conversations, not interacting with your parts in a healthy way. So whatever you can do to remind yourself to practice IFS and to continuously communicate with your parts, there is no obstacle between you and the interaction with your parts. You don't need the permission of anyone to speak to your parts. There are no gatekeepers, so you can always have that line of communication with your parts. But it's important to remember that line of communication does exist. The parts do exist for you to be able to work with them. The other thing is there is a possibility of your parts, either a part pretending to be the self, and so when you try to check in emotionally, you feel like everything is good, everything's taken care of, and like there's nothing to worry about. When what is happening is that there are certain exiles that are being suppressed, so they're not expressing themselves fully, and the part is not being fully honest with you in the situation that is happening internally. I experienced this a number of times when dealing with food addiction. So I'd be eating emotionally, eating because I'm stressed, but then when I try to tap into my inner world and say, what's the cause of me not being able to commit to a healthy lifestyle? I'd come up with a lot of reasons that seem very reasonable and seem as though there is no problem at all. You're eating because you're enjoying life, because you're happy. It's not because you're unhappy. It's because you're happy, therefore you're eating a lot. So it's not that big of a deal. You can still enjoy life. You can still enjoy like sugary treats and so on, but it's actually masking or or it's not letting me recognize that this is a coping mechanism and I'm actually experiencing stress that I may not be experiencing intensely, but the stress does exist, which is why I'm resorting to unhealthy eating. It may not be related to emotion per se. It could be physiological. It could be a candida overgrowth. So my brain is being hijacked by a fungus, and which is why I'm finding it difficult to cut sugar out of my diet. But if I'm not being honest with myself in what I want to deal with, what it is I'm dealing with, and how best to deal with it, then I'm not creating a healthy inner environment. So again, I'm not trying to vilify any part for resorting to dishonesty, and sometimes it's completely genuine. Like the part has misread the situation, has misunderstood what's happening internally, and so it assumes that there is no issue, or there's a possibility of some emotions being exiled, whether intentionally by a manager or because the exiles, the parts that have emotions that they want to express, they're not necessarily exiles, but there is some level of suppression, some level of refusal to express themselves, the parts not expressing themselves, because there's something in the emotional environment that they're not trusting. So just because you're not experiencing intense emotions does not mean that everything is okay. So try to invite more honesty, and be on the lookout of potential potential issues with parts being suppressed and not being allowed to express themselves. This is extremely important, and don't forget to practice IFS and always have that line of communication with your parts. See you in the next video.